You're now watching Sports Bettor's Paradise on the BetRivers Network.
All right, Jimmy Ott along with Brady Kannon talking some NFL picks as we get a lot more attention on the NFL as the college football schedule shrinks into championship week. So down the stretch we come as we're seeing some of the coaches getting let go. Can Charlotte, we see another move there. Yeah, really a surprise for Tepper to get involved in things there. Brady, let's start off here in New York, and it's the Jets against the first place Atlanta Falcons in the rigid NFC South. The Jets catching 3 at home against the Falcons.
Yeah, Jimmy, I think this game sets up pretty well for the Jets. And, first of all, it seems like the first beatable opponent they've had in a while. They really have not played that many teams with a record under 500 all season long. And here they get a team that has a record under 500, but yet, as you mentioned, just ascended into first place in the division in the Atlanta Falcons. With my power ratings, I make this Falcons -2. And with what we've seen out of both of these teams in recent weeks, actually Atlanta has been slightly improving and the Jets have been declining, most of all on defense. The offense has never really been around, but the defense has been declining because I think that offense just can't sustain a drive and this defense is getting worn out. They're on the field too much. But now the Jets face a defense in the Atlanta Falcons in recent weeks, 30th in yards per play allowed, 29th in yards per rush attempt allowed, 25th in yards per pass attempt allowed. So this offense may finally have an opportunity to move the ball a little bit. And I tell you what, Jimmy, this is maybe my very most favorite situation, the way this sets up for the New York Jets here. You have the Jets coming in on extra rest, having played last Friday. The Falcons are in a division sandwich here. They come off of that win over the Saints. Now they go on the road to face the Jets, and then they come back home to face the Buccaneers. So not only a division sandwich, but a home sandwich. And then most of all, the Falcons go from winning outright as a home underdog into the role of road favorite. A bad recipe there for sure. Should the Falcons be a road favorite over anybody? I'm not buying it this week. I'll take the 3 points with New York.
It's a Randy McKay special in between those divisional sandwich spot for the Falcons. And keep in mind, if the Falcons on the return trip to the Superdome in New Orleans lose that game, they will probably have the tiebreaker based on their divisional record, which they are undefeated right now, and the Saints have a couple of losses already, so they're way ahead in that second tiebreaker after head-to-head for the NFC South divisional spot. All right, Cincinnati without Joe Burrow, they lose 16-10 to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now they travel to Jacksonville to take on the Jaguars on Monday Night Football. Jaguars hang on by a thread as the game-tying field goal hits the crossbar and bounces back. Jags here, 8.5-point favorites on Monday night against the Bengals.
Yeah, Jimmy, I think the Bengals actually have a chance to win this game outright, but I do feel it is too many points. With my power ratings, I made the Jaguars a 5.5-point favorite, and then when I crunch all the numbers, I come to Jaguars -4. And Jacksonville has really been on the decline statistically in recent weeks. You just look at their last few games. They're dead last in yards per play allowed. They're 27th in yards per point on offense and 24th in yards per point on defense. They're dead last in yards per rush attempt on offense and second to last in yards per rush attempt allowed on defense. They're also dead last in yards per pass attempt allowed and 26th in red zone defense. So it sets up really nicely for a Bengals offense that could really use a break. If you look at the Bengals, the last 2 games, who they have faced basically without Joe Burrow, it's been the Ravens defense and the Steelers defense. Now they catch a defense that has been on the decline in recent weeks. They should have an opportunity for success. Jake Browning gets another full week of practice. They get to go on the road away from the pressure and the expectations of home. And Jacksonville on the other side may be a little bit fat and happy, having won 2 straight. And they just slayed their dragon. You mentioned it in narrowly escaping getting a win over the Houston Texans. The Texans had been 9-1 straight up against the Jaguars in their last 10 meetings. So they finally get over that hump and, like I say, slay that dragon, feeling pretty good about themselves. And then a non-division opponent comes to town. And, maybe they're feeling, like I say, they're feeling themselves a little bit here. And then finally, Jimmy, what I like about this situation is Monday night. I like to take a team where their stock could be not much lower on Monday night. And that's probably the case for the Bengals. A lot of people have given up on this team without Burrow in the lineup. So here they are on a worldwide stage, national television, and they get to show everybody that, hey, we're not done yet. So I think the Bengals will come with a very inspired effort here. I think they have a good chance to win this game outright. 8.5 points indicates a 2-score possession game. I think it'll be a 1-score possession game at worst. And like I say, maybe a Cincinnati outright win.
Get extra value this football season with BetRivers Squares. Win up to $10,000 in bonus money. Bet $10 in same-game parlays on any game with the Squares icon to earn a square. That's brought to you by our friends over at BetRivers. For third pick, get a little creative here. A little money line parlay. The first half of it is Pittsburgh hosting Arizona. That's a 1 p.m. Eastern time kickoff, and then a chance to stagger here with Sunday Night Football, shades of Super Bowl I, I guess. Kansas City going to Lambeau to take on Green Bay. Start with Pittsburgh hosting Arizona, Brady.
Yeah, Steelers and the Cardinals and the Chiefs and the Packers. Since Kyler Murray returned to the lineup, the Arizona Cardinals have faced the Falcons, the Texans, and the Rams. Not exactly great defenses. Now they go on the road where they are 0-6 on the season, and they get to face the Steelers defense, who we know is a good defense and has really been improving as of late. The Steelers currently are a 5.5-point favorite. I make them a 6.5-point favorite, but rather than lay the wood, we love to take Tomlin as an underdog. I'm not quite ready to lay, nearly a touchdown with him, even though I don't think they'll have a really difficult time with this Arizona club. I'm going to go ahead and put it into the money line parlay, like you say, with Kansas City. Now, the Chiefs, they bounced back off of a loss last week and really took it to the Raiders here in Las Vegas. Now they're on the road again in Green Bay, where the Packers have won 2 straight, but they've beaten the Chargers and the Detroit Lions. Now, the Lions really started out like gangbusters to begin the season, but their defense has really been on the decline the last 3 or 4 weeks. Look at all the points they've given up to the Ravens, the Chargers, the Packers, you name it. Their defense has been slipping, and we know about the Chargers defense. Well, now you get to face Patrick Mahomes, not only Patrick Mahomes, but the Kansas City defense, who is one of the better defenses in the league. And meanwhile, in recent weeks, the Packers have not been able to defend the run or the pass, and they haven't been able to put pressure on the quarterback. That's a bad combination in facing Patrick Mahomes and this offense, who needs every help they can get. We've seen them sputter a little bit. They took care of business against the Raiders, but they haven't been the usual Chiefs we're used to. So if you take a team like Green Bay, who is sputtering on defense as of late, not able to get pressure on Mahomes, what have you, I think the recipe for success is very good for Kansas City in this game. I think both teams are able to handle their business this week in Week 13. I'll take Pittsburgh and Kansas City in a money line parlay.
Well, you can't argue with the in-season switch at offensive coordinator for Mike Tomlin and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Matt Canada, as far as if a decent barrier is 400 total yards, well, he was 0 for 44. That's right, 44 games, 0. The first game, they get over 400 total yards at Cincinnati. And as far as that's the numbers, another number thing is Freiermuth, the tight end, targeted 11 times, get 9 catches for 120 yards. And then the eyeball, what I see is letting him throw the ball to the middle of the field, trusting him to do so. So we're ready to say, man, Pickett's getting up there and starts. It's time to kind of, I don't know if he just has it. Well, this is his first time to play outside of Matt Canada. I do not think that's just coincidence. And as far as Kansas City, boy, we're just waiting for him to flip that switch. And they were ugly early, and now they're 14-0, and then wham! I mean, they really put it on Las Vegas in that one. So I do have to ask you specifically, the Jordan Love. So he looks so bad. Is another one early. We were about to try and doesn't look like he has it. Got to give him the proper amount of starts, 20, 25 or so, before you pass final judgment. But his last 3 games have been pretty good. What you think is this Kansas City defense, which has been the backbone of this year's team, is gonna put a stop to this Jordan Love run?
Yeah, I think it's a whole new animal here this week. As I mentioned, we've seen Jordan Love kind of come around against the Chargers defense, one of the worst in the league, and the Lions defense, who started out the year very well, but lately in the last, 4 or 5 weeks has been one of the worst in the league as well. So I think this will be a rude awakening. It's absolutely a step up in class. The Packers still are not that good of a team. They've had some recent success, and they could be somewhat competitive in this game, because Kansas City hasn't been what we're used to either. But I think it was a nice wake-up call. The loss, not only the loss to the Philadelphia Eagles, but you mentioned getting down by 14 to the Raiders early. I think this team keeps their foot on the gas and from here on out, not only in this game, but the rest of the season. And we'll see more what we're used to out of Kansas City and Andy Reid.
And maybe a rare spot to get some value against the recency bias of Green Bay. Everybody saw that standalone spot on Thanksgiving Day in that first game of the day. Very good stuff. That line right now is minus 121 at BetRivers.
Yeah,
so,
not a bad price.
Also,
when you take 2 teams that are roughly 6-point favorites, you can usually get them around 120 or less, and I'm okay with that.
all right, so Pittsburgh, Green Bay, moneyline parlay, minus 121 at BetRivers. And for you middle guys, if you want a middle for a fraction of it, whatever they staggered for a noon start, a 1 p.m. Eastern start, and then a primetime start on Sunday night. Each and every week, it's the NFL Picks with Brady Kannon. I'm Jimmy Ott here on the Sports Bettor's Paradise on the BetRivers Network.